junkie, burnout, drunk, alcoholic, smokeaholic. Many people would think that that last word doesn't really belong with the previous batch. You know, the other batch, well, those are real drug addicts, and here we're just talking about smoking, and that's, smokeaholic is just like a cute euphemism. It is no cute euphemism. It is an accurate depiction of the problem we're dealing with. Smokers are nicotine addicts. They are smoking in order to get nicotine. They are getting nicotine, or they need to get nicotine, because they're addicted to nicotine. Just as the heroin addict is addicted to heroin, or a cocaine addict is addicted to cocaine, an alcoholic is addicted to alcohol, smokers are addicted to nicotine. And the same rules apply. Many people think, well, the rules shouldn't be the same because, cigarettes just aren't in the same category. They're not as addictive, or they're not as dangerous. But when it comes down to it, they are as addictive as anything else mentioned. And when it really does come down to it, it's more dangerous than all of them. Cigarettes kill more than all other drugs combined, legal and illegal. We are dealing with a product which basically kills 50% of the people who use it. But when it comes down to the addictive nature, there's so many people who just can't seem to grasp that cigarettes are as addictive as they are. The reason is somewhat of a historical problem. The medical community did not consider it an addiction until the 1990s. For a drug to be considered addictive in the past, it had to meet 3 criteria. The first criteria was withdrawal. If a lot of people use a substance a lot, all of a sudden stop using the substance, a certain percentage of them will have a withdrawal syndrome. Well, that one was never debated. Smokers knew from the start that if they didn't have their normal supply of cigarettes, they'd have withdrawal. But that's only one of the 3 criteria. You got to meet all 3 of the 3. The second one was tolerance. Tolerance was the longer you use the substance, the more you normally needed. Well, that one was never really debated either. It wasn't like a person takes a cigarette when they're 12 or 13, takes a puff, and then all of a sudden realizes, wow, they're hooked. They're smoking 2 packs a day the next day. No, it doesn't work like that. It took them years to get up to the level that they eventually peak at. They started out smoking 1 a day, to 2 a day, to 4 a day, to 5 a day, to 8 a day, and again, maybe months are going by, years are going by before they get to the pack, and then they get to a pack and a half. But eventually, they peak at some level, and it usually took them years to get there. They developed tolerance. That one was never debated. But 2 out of 3 wasn't good enough. It had to meet the third criteria. The third criteria was using a drug which is considered addictive will normally lead to some sort of antisocial or deviant behavior in order to get to the drug. And it was constantly argued, oh, come on, people don't resort to antisocial deviant behavior to smoke. That was true in the early years of smoking. But that was because cigarettes were relatively inexpensive. They were dirt cheap when it really came down to it. They were socially acceptable. You could smoke them anywhere, anytime you wanted. And if you ever ran out, you could walk up to almost anybody and ask them to borrow one, and they'd give it to you. It was that prevalent. When a product is that prevalent and that easy to get to, you don't have to resort to antisocial deviant behaviors in order to get it. But if you start looking at populations that couldn't get to cigarettes, you will start to understand cigarettes were fully capable in all this time period to resort to antisocial deviant behaviors. I was doing stop smoking clinics from the late 1970s until 2000 in a northern suburb of Chicago called Skokie. Skokie had a large population of concentration camp survivors, and because of this, I had a number of these people in smoking clinics decades after they were in camps. But they remember when they were in concentration camps, they weren't given enough food to sustain life. There were days, though, where if there was a way of getting cigarettes, either from other prisoners or bartering with guards, whatever it was, if there was ways to get cigarettes, they wouldn't just trade away valuables that they may have been able to get in. They were trading away their food in order to get cigarettes. This is not normal behavior. It's going on in third world countries today where parents they're starving to death. They have kids who are starving to death. They're daily trading away food stuff for cigarettes. Then it was always a situation that I would point out to people who were going through these programs to look at their own behaviors, even when they weren't in extreme circumstances. When they ran out of cigarettes out of carelessness. Do they ever remember going into ashtrays and taking out other people's butts and smoking them? Going into gutters and taking them out when there's absolutely no other way of getting them because their own got destroyed or soaked or they just ran out somehow. And they remember doing stunts like this. And it makes you realize just what type of grip this product had on them at the time that they were smokers. It's important for you to remember what kind of grip cigarettes had on you too. Because given the opportunity to get into your system again, they'll get that grip again. And you don't know you'll get the strength to quit the next time, the desire, and you don't know you get the opportunity, that something won't go wrong between attempt 1 and attempt 2, which is why when you have an attempt going, you do everything you can to keep it going. You do not want to be hooked on a product again that, once again, has a 50-50 chance of killing you, and even if it doesn't kill you, it can very well cripple you along the way, cost you a fortune, cause social implications, affect you professionally these days. That's the whole package deal. See cigarettes for all that they do to you and for the addiction they are. And the more you see it that way and the more you understand it that way, the more you'll stay committed to stick to your, again, the personal commitment you hopefully make the day you stop to never take another puff.